Right.
No, this is probably
Ross,
Here.
Ms. Dahl, here, and Ms. Iverson, here, and Mayor Miller.
Here. All right, agenda modifications. Todd, what was the one we were adding?
To negotiate contract with the rate study.
That was it.
group that was.
Okay, so we wanted to add that to the agenda if nobody objects. Okay,
And I did notice we didn't have the discussion on public comment again, so I didn't know if we were going to have that discussion of changing the policy or.
it's got on the website, didn't get on the printout.
Okay,
It is there,
okay, perfect, thanks.
so I'll write that in. But yes, we did get that added to the website.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So let's see. Rate study, gotta fucking rate. Two.
I'd make a motion to add those, to negotiate the rate study discussion and then the public comment issue.
I'll second both of those.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, so next will be the public hearing for the aquifer zoning, the moratorium. So we passed the moratorium. If you're not familiar, we reprinted out the ordinances in the back, and that was the one we passed, the temporary ordinance back in January. So by law, we had to do the within 60 days, we had to do the public hearing portion, give the public a chance to talk about it. This is gonna be a long process. We have the aquifer study, which you said was Friday that closes, yeah. So the RFP for the aquifer study closes Friday. Land use study, if that applies, it just closed and we have to go through sorting those contracts. So it is going to take a while. This is just the initial portion of this. So all righty, so public hearing, we'll start with Terry Franklin.
Hi, I'm Terry Franklin, 397 Tower Street Road, East Grace Harbor County. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this development moratorium. I firmly believe that we should let the moratorium stand until Grace Harbor County and the city of McCleary implement the interlocal agreement that they agreed upon in 2008 after the Wildcat Creek study expounded on the previous Hart-Krauser study. In section 4B of this agreement, it states, we will learn more about the aquifer. Much can be learned at fairly reasonable cost about our aquifer, even though the impossibility of obtaining a complete and detailed picture of the aquifer's below ground variations means that land use decisions will always entail uncertainty. Monitoring the stream flows can refine estimates of safe yield. Monitoring a sample of wells over time can build a database and can alert residents and the two governments to problems with groundwater quality. The county monitored a sample of private wells in 2008 and did not detect any contamination at that time. The databases that were to be established through both monitoring programs can aid future decision making. Therefore, the county and the city agreed to additional monitoring of private wells. If the county and city decided that additional monitoring of private wells is necessary, they shall agree to a monitoring program and designate funds for its operation. 2, they were going to monitor the level of Wildcat Creek downstream of the point where its 3 branches converge. And 3, they were going to build an ongoing record of monitoring results to aid in future decision making. This agreement has been totally ignored since the building moratorium was lifted on the unincorporated area north and west of the city of McCleary with the signing of this interlocal agreement. The only entity I know that is monitoring the stream flow of the Wildcat is the Chehalis Basin Strategy Group. And when they write letters about this issue, it seems to get overlooked, which is not in the best interest of our community. Can you imagine the knowledge we would have now about our aquifer had they done what they said they would do in 2008? We would have 14 years of data at this moment. Now we are under a great deal of development pressure and do not have the tools we need to make informed decisions about our water supply for this valley. The city of McCleary does have water rights, but just like so many other places in the state, Department of Ecology may have given out more rights than they have water for. Without the ability to estimate our water usage and balance it for all the people on the sole source aquifer, we are doing everyone a disservice. It takes a community working together to get this work accomplished. I, for one, want our local governments to be responsive to our concerns as taxpayers. I want them to honor their agreements to the people of this area, not placate us with signing documents and then putting them on the shelves to collect dust. We paid a lot of money to get those studies done through the taxes. Grants are not free money, as the old timer Ted Rikowski used to say in these meetings. We all have to pay for it. Grays Harbor, Lewis, and Thurston counties have all taken money from the federal government that had some strings attached to it when it came to the Chehalis Basin. Stream flow and fish runs are important, and if we do not handle this water issue properly, we could have some problems that most people have not even thought about yet because they do not look at the big picture. I'm trained in watershed analysis, which means I'm supposed to look at the big picture, and I've been looking at the big picture for a long time. We as a people, okay. Anyway, should be smarter stream flows. We as the people who are supposed to be watching out for each other need to see what is happening here. The only way we are able to get our water monitoring done is through what I have been told is called political will. Maybe the next step is to put a moratorium back on the prairie also until the city and the county give us what we asked for and what they agreed to do. I would like to commend Mayor Miller on getting this moratorium in place until these important issues and questions can be answered. I'd like to thank you for your time and your consideration and for some practical ideas. I know that the Chehalis Basin strategy has been monitoring stream flows on the Chehalis and the Wildcat since about 2002, 2003, because I was on their water quality committee when we set up the gauges, and I was on their steering committee for years. So I do know that they have that information and we can ferret it out, which will save us some time and money, so that this isn't going on forever and ever. But I really do appreciate that you are taking the time to look at these things that we have asked for years now, because it's important for all of us. I mean, it's everybody's investment in their house in here. If you guys don't have water, whether it be the city or the prairie, even though you got water rights, it's not gonna help any of it, and everything's gonna go. So, you know, that's all I can say. I hope that you keep it on, and if I can do anything to help you, dig through files, do some research, I am willing to do that for you, and always have been, so. That's all.
You guys have our number?
I
Yes,
put it here. Here's my, yeah, they do.
I was just gonna ask for that, so I can give it to the
This
planning
is-
commission when they come around. You get, these are your,
That's my notes,
okay, good.
and here's your, somebody get the copy of this somewhere. but- All right,
Thank you.
here's your copy, so you don't have to worry about what I said.
All right,
You're welcome.
thank you. Dave Pearsall?
Hey,
Dave? You're up. Public comment for the hearing?
Oh, he probably thought he just didn't sign in.
Oh, okay. You didn't want to talk about the moratorium?
No, I'm just trying to hear anything that's going on. I can't.
Okay.
I got my best hearing aid.
Because you signed in for the public hearing?
Oh, yeah, I did sign in.
Did you want to talk for the public hearing? Okay, just make sure. All right, was it?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
No worries.
Okay. all
Is there anybody else who want to talk about the moratorium before we close the public hearing?
Good for you. Glad to see that it didn't get wasted.
All
I
right.
got a simple question. I know Wildcat Creek has a run of salmon, usually chums, most of them. So does that aquifer affect that too, as far as that goes? So it seems like the state would be in there looking at that too with the salmon return in there. Because I've been out there and I've seen salmon going up, and they also
yeah.
mark it with their red flags where the eggs have been laid. So I could think that would have something to do with it too.
I put the one in the Sam's Canal through the Wildcat down.
Yeah.
the river. It's
Okay.
my
So it would
life.
be-
There's been a lot of
they're
salmon
looking
there.
into the fisheries with.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, we'll close the public hearing for the moratorium. And now we're up to public comments. And keep in mind, the public comments are for the agenda items for today. That includes the things we just added. Yes.
I had a quick question on the ordinance, which is regarding the salaries commission.
Yes.
And I was wondering where the verbiage or idea for H came from.
For what?
H in the ordinance.
Off the top of my head. So I was trying to reflect what we were talking about the last meeting. I didn't know how to word it, and that's why I highlighted. It's the only line that's changed since the last time it was out. I just didn't know where to start. So I was trying to throw something on there so everybody could see it, and then we can kind of play with it from there. I couldn't actually find the example that matched that, so. Lori, you were first.
My question's regarding the construction of the new house on Fur, which is adjacent to the duplex that we own. And I was assured that the alley has been in use, which it had not been the entire time that we've owned it, or since they've been built. And I understand that there was an alley there, but I was assured by the contractor that it would not be used. Unfortunately, our duplexes face the alley, so all the construction that's been going on has been right in their front yard, basically, as far as the trucks coming and going. That part's fine. But they are not using the whole alley, and I was wondering why they're only using the part that goes in front of my duplexes and not using the entire one. In fact, they've got like a berm up there now where you can't go through if you wanted to. And basically, what I would like is maybe the alley could be put back to a non-usage alley like it was before and used mainly for maybe emergency things. So it's affecting our renters. Their front yards got cut off pretty good. Not to mention everything that goes with the construction.
Okay. Hey, Todd, is that something you're able to answer, or do we have to look into that? Because
We'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
I know they were using it for construction access to the back end of the house, so being built.
They're using half of it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if what the plan is for, if it's supposed to go all the way through or not, so we'd have to end up possibly.
It goes all, well, anyway. So would it be possible then to be notified if it can be, once they're done with their building stuff? I know the garages are facing the street, not the alley, so they don't need it for any egress.
yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah.
So can I assume that it will go back to what it was when they're done?
I would think so. I have to look
We'll
at that.
have to talk to Larry, find out what exactly the builder's proposing for it. Because it could be just an alleyway where they just might want to have access to their backyards or a gate to the backyard, so that's.
Well, then they could. If the whole alley was being used, I'd have less of a complaint. But it isn't. So anyway, so if I can check later then and see what's
Yeah.
happening with it.
Yep.
Right, because if they're actually gonna want to use that alley, they have to improve the alleyway up to city standards. So,
Okay,
it's a process, so.
okay. And thank you for actually looking into the fact that we may be running out of water someday. The board.
Okay. Terry, did you have some for this portion as well?
Yeah, I do. And I wasn't prepared for this, other than when I started talking to Laura, I had a couple of questions. Back, I don't know, 15 years ago, Russ Kenny asked me to come and do a wetland delineation on this property that we're talking about and the back end of the property he owned at that time. And they're family friends, so I said, yeah, I'd go out and at least just look. Let me just take my corkscrew out and my soils books and I'll look. I went out there and I took soil samples with my corkscrew, and what I found was wetlands, blind soil, chromatic soil, all this stuff in there. So I'm kind of wondering how that place got built on that piece of property to begin with. Who should have been looking at that. That's, I'm
Which,
curious.
which
I mean,
property are you referring to?
It's on Furry.
Oh, that one. Okay. I thought you were talking maybe a different one. So that's why I want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how that happened. You know, I never did the wetlands report because I didn't want to charge him thousands of dollars to say no, and I told him that. I said, you know, it's gonna cost thousands of dollars, and the answer is no, because, and I showed him all the soil samples and all the stuff. So I'm just wondering how that managed to go through like that. That's all, that was all.
It's taken tons to build, literally tons. To be able to build on it.
I'm gonna have to start the planning department on that one because I'm not sure.
And they have the
Where?
road halfway closed there,
I mean, there's ways around developing wetlands.
part of the street.
Yeah.
There's ways around developing wetlands. I mean, I don't know the specifics, but they could have paid for mitigation. They could have had a consultant demonstrate that it's not like a connective wetland. So there's ways around it. Just because you have like an isolated spot that meets the
That
criteria
was
for a
collecting all
wetland.
that water for the people that live, you know, in that area instead of getting it in their yards.
Oh, I understand. I work in this field too,
Yeah.
but there's, I mean,
Yeah, I
as you
know.
know, there's ways around it.
Yeah, there is, but
Yeah.
I wanted to know how come that never was brought up.
It may have been and they mitigated it. I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, I don't read every one of your land use development things, I don't have time.
And then Bob?
We're gonna stick to the agenda. I'm just curious, how long is this gonna go when people can pick and choose what you want to say or talk to the city council about?
That's
City
one of our
council.
topics today that we're trying to figure out.
Okay, thank you. It's because they were voted in by the people. They should be doing the people's work, not what they want,
It's both.
right?
I know it-
Should be.
I know it's, yes, but keep in mind, they don't have to allow the public comment.
I know
We're
they-
trying to find this, I don't know, happy medium, to make this
I
work
find that They
better.
were voted in by the people.
Yes,
They're not doing the people's work as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of people believing that.
I have to say that's between you and them. I mean, there's 5 of them, 1 of me, so.
One of you.
So,
But they can always be
I mean-
replaced, just like everybody else, when it goes back to next vote.
I just have a comment on the public comment. I think it's sheepish. And I think that each and every one of you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Exactly.
I think that the way you allowed Mr. Slingsman to change his voice and none of you stopped that phone call because he was attacking the mayor shows disrespect from each and every one of you.
I don't want to rehash something from 2 months ago.
I'm not
I want to be able to move
rehashing. What
on.
I'm trying to get at is, there's a happy medium. People come to these meetings because they want to get their voice heard and let the public know what they found or what they believe in, or what public has talked to them and said, hey, there's 6 of us and we've decided, did you notice that this is wrong? Did you notice that that was right? Did you see how great of a job they did on this? But if you isolate it down to just your agenda conversations, public isn't heard. And if you look on the website, you guys get all your ideas from businesses and schools and all these things. Nowhere on there did it say anything about you get ideas from public. We pay the taxes here. We have to live here. And for you to isolate us during these meetings is wrong. There should be a 3 to 5 minute conversation piece, and nobody should be able to interject. Meaning, if Mr. Pringle's talking, I can't add to what he's saying. If I didn't put my name down for that topic, I can't interrupt and add to what he's saying. He needs to be heard, and that needs to be closed. But I can tell you this much, for living here for the last 12 years, no city council member from then till now has ever wrote down anything and rehashed a comment or a complaint or anything at meetings to come. It is ignored, it is quieted, and nobody cares. So what happens is, you get people like Angela, myself, Mr. Pringle, who are the voices that keep coming here time and time again, bringing up the same topics time and time again, and nothing's ever heard about them. Nobody ever addresses them. So what's the easiest way to do it? We'll just shut them all out. And we'll just make it where nobody can talk. Look at your agenda. You don't even have a business on there. You don't even have an agenda. One thing. You're gonna have a meeting for that, and most of the time it's to pay bills. You're gonna have a meeting for that. This is disrespectful to the public. This is disrespectful to the taxpayer. So you guys need to figure out between the 5 of you how to make it work, which means we need to be heard and you need to listen. You might not agree with what we say, but if you write something down and just one time at the next meeting, answered a question that was asked to you, because you all say you're gonna get back to us and you never do. So if you honestly showed that you were here for the people instead of your this and this and this and this, I don't care about any of that. All I care about is being heard. All I care about is being taken seriously. All I want is answers. We wouldn't be in a lawsuit right now if people would have taken things seriously. Now that's, as a taxpayer, gonna cost me money. I'm pissed because you didn't do your job, which was hold the police chief accountable or the current mayor at that time accountable. So now we're, as a taxpayer, gonna pay for it. That's not fair. So put yourselves in check, figure something out that works for you and works for us. Thank you.
Suzanne.
I would like to also make a comment on public comment, which is of a very different nature than the last one, which is I have found public comment to be very disruptive the last year, and I would like to look forward to on-topic comments only and written public comments for off-topic with perhaps a comment during the meeting of we should add this to future agendas, maybe a proposed agenda at the end of the meeting for what will go on to the next one. But I do find that the excessive off-topic is not conductive for business. So that is all I have to say on that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Shelley?
Is there a place during public comment? So if there's an event coming up that maybe not everybody knows because we don't have a reader board or anything like that. For example, the Elma High School Booster Club is doing a comedy show this weekend to raise money for the seniors. So, I mean, unless you're in the know, you would know. So is there a way for us, like I know today, so I wanted to not interject, but announce that that's going on. I don't have a high school senior, but, but I know, they're trying to raise money. At what point can we, have a public comment to let people know of upcoming things, since we don't have a way to, I know it's not, we don't live in Elma, but we do have high schoolers that go here, so would there be an appropriate time for me to, not me, anybody, of something, an upcoming event?
Did you have your hand up? Sorry, I thought I saw your hand up at the corner of my eye, so I just wanted to add.
When would be an appropriate time?
Well, we
That'd
can,
be something I'd email in advance.
yeah, if you could, I mean, because we can announce those.
Okay.
And that's typically what we do, like when I was on council, because when I was still part of the Civic Renewal Council, we had upcoming events and
Yeah.
I'd announce them, Bryce would announce stuff that he has something going on. So, I mean, that was typical.
I was under the assumption that right now we're only allowed to stay on topic for what's.
No, there's, I mean, anything updated community related, it's trying to, the public comment, if you think about some of these meetings where the public comment was an hour and the business was 20 minutes.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't, we have to find a better solution.
So upcoming events, just go ahead and email.
Yeah, just let us know and we can make a list of those and then we can
So
talk
it's
about them the
this
next time.
weekend.
Go ahead, it's your floor.
I think it starts at 6:30.
Is it the one, are they doing it at the fairgrounds this year?
It's
Okay.
at the pavilion. And they're serving, so the ticket gets you dinner, I think it's carne asada, street tacos and or chicken quesadilla. I'm not running it, but actually my daughter, Jessica's business is working in part of it, the Whiskey Wagon. So that's the only reason I know, so I'm gonna help her. And then it comes with a drink ticket, dessert, and the comedy show.
And how much is it?
I
Do you
don't know.
Okay,
You could probably find it online.
yeah,
I think so, yeah, but anyway.
okay.
I think they are already sold like 300 tickets.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that was part of the reason why they moved to the pavilion because
Yeah,
they couldn't fit everybody in the VFW.
third annual now.
Chris, you said something about sometimes the public comments run an hour. That depends on how many people are here too, so if you keep not letting people talk what they want about, you're gonna get fewer and fewer people here, because nothing's getting done. So that feeds into what most of these council people want. So the thing is, if you don't have people here, you're not gonna get a true thought of what's going on around here. So that's all I wanna say, is that each and every one of you has a responsibility, because we're working for the people. People put them there, and that's all I'm gonna say about it anymore.
Okay, and we're gonna discuss that tonight, but there's different ways you can bring
Right,
up
I
those
agree.
conversations
Like
in
you said,
different
3
forums.
minutes, stay on that topic, nobody else interferes. Because you guys have to answer to us too. We don't always answer to you. And that's the way it is. This is not a dictatorship. This is not a communist country. You were voted in by the people. That's your job. That if you don't like it, you step down and let somebody else take over. It just seems like he said, you come in here and you talk and you talk and you talk and you never get anything done. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Each and every one of you have a responsibility.
Anybody else? Yeah, there.
I'm not sure what you guys are talking about with your public comment. Are you doing something different than having a public comment in the beginning and a public comment at the end?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
I've been attending these council meetings since
It just
1970, yes,
It's just
70,
just started.
Yeah.
73 off and on. I really attended them from all through the 90s and into the early 2000s. And I can't imagine that you would try to limit people from coming and talking at the public comment, even if you just cut them off at 3 minutes and say, hey, 3 minutes. That is part of our right as citizens and how our government operates. And it's disappointing to hear that people don't want to do that. I'm sorry, that's part of public service. That's my impression. That's what, I mean, I've been a public servant for as long. I come out here and do all this stuff. I don't get paid for any of it, but I still do it for you because I care about you all. And I think it's important that we have our public comment, even if you shut us off after 3 minutes. That's okay if there's too many of us to talk. We can hand it in writing to
But-
you so you can read it.
Well, keep in mind, there's different ways of giving public comment. So what we were doing was it's shutting the verbal because it was trying to end the platform for some people, but you could still submit the written comments. They would be added to the packet. Everybody would be able to read it. And if there's questions in there, we can answer those questions. It gives us time to research it. But it's the same thing in the last couple of months when I kept asking people, when they would complain, I see them on Facebook or they, they approach me, whatever like that. I'd be like, okay, well, email me the question. I can see it. I can go and research it. You know how many I've gotten? 3. Because everybody wants to complain, but they don't want to actually want to do anything about it. Yeah. So, but that's what we have to figure out. I mean, we don't necessarily have to have this platform here. One alternative that people have asked is maybe we create a town hall where you can bring those conversations in a different platform, because this is basically a business meeting. Now, right now, do I have the capacity to do that? You might have to wait till we get closer to the little summer, because we have to figure out how to make that work right, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. This is what we're trying to figure out.
How does that work if you're doing a town hall and all of you are there? There's some kind of restrictions like about.
You just have to do an announcement for it. Yeah. I mean, if everybody's here, or maybe not everybody is here. Maybe it's just me getting beat up by everybody. I don't know. I mean, we have to figure that out, but.
You said we could submit these in writing.
Mhm.
Do you guys all get together and then discuss what we sent him? See, that's the-
I haven't been sent
We
anything.
can all get it.
Yeah.
But
We
it
can't
would
discuss
be
it.
illegal for us to
Yeah.
get together and discuss.
So-
it, because that would be
Yeah.
a quorum, and that's
Okay.
illegal. because we
Yeah,
couldn't
so
discuss
when I
it
send
about-
something to all of them, and I figured this out because Brenda used to, we blind CC them, and so then they're not attached to each other, and that's how we get, I don't want to say get around the corn, that's the wrong way of saying it, but I mean, that's how we're getting around it, right? So they all get it, but it's spread out at the same time, same message, but they're getting it individually. So if they try to respond, they're not responding to each other, and avoids the whole quorum situation.
The only thing I have against that is when you ask somebody a certain question in here, the people that are sitting here, they can see the response from the councilman, how they feel and about the way they do it and what they vote on. This way you're looking at them, they're looking at you, and you can see the concern on your face of what's going on, and you can see the concern on their face of how they're gonna go. So that's one thing I like about the public meetings. But like you said, you could limit it to 3 minutes. When they're done, shut them off. That's it, no more. But we gotta be able to talk to these people, because like I said, we forwarded them in. It's not saying that she voted for this and he did that, but we want you guys to hear us. It's just, it's not right. This is not controlled country supposedly, but it is sometimes, but I'm saying, geez, I mean, we gotta be able to say our piece.
You got a public comment on the Zoom.
Who's,
I always see A10E. The guy that has a hand raised on Zoom. The person.
okay, whoever Galaxy is, can you give us your name and your address?
Yeah, Angela Rittinger, on Main Street. Just wanted to kind of piggyback off some of these comments people are saying about public comments. I'll keep it very short. I don't want to go exactly what we're talking about, where these public, comments go. But, I have to agree with people saying that for years, I've lived here 5 years, been attending every single council meeting for 2. Never has there been an issue with the public comments thing, other than things obviously getting out of control. But we do need to have our voice. And it seems to me that Bryson Huff, the Dolls, and Joy were fine when the attacks were on the mayor earlier in the year, and they were trying to undermine him. But when the questions started on them and their involvement in some of this mutiny on the mayor, that's when they wanted to shut down the public comments. So it seems when the heat went on them, that's when they wanted to shut this down. But when it was on the other people, they were okay with it. So I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if they can't take the heat and take the questions, then maybe they should consider not serving on the council, because you have to take the hard questions. The other thing that I just want to mention real quick is I really hope you guys take Terry Franklin up on her offer to help you folks. I don't think you're going to find anybody more passionate or more knowledgeable on our water issues in this area. And I think it would be a shame if the city of McCleary chooses once again to ignore the interlocal agreements and the help that's out there for the city of McCleary. And I really hope you folks take her up on her offer. So thank you, Terry, for all of your hard work for our city. And just know that there's a lot of people out here that appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Any new comments? And we'll close public comments. All right, so we're the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve, or any questions with the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, second.
Second.
I'll let you choose which one that was. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and just so you all know, the book is in the back. I just need at least 3 of you to sign it tonight, so. All right, updates. Does anybody have any updates that they need to share or want to share? Okay. So new business. Let's start with the rate study.
So we went out with a RFP, request for proposal for rate study, or for utility rates. We got one proposal back from FCS, which they did previous rate study in 20. I'd like to move forward with negotiating with FCS for a contract with them to bring back to council.
So there's only one, no one else submitted.
Nope. This one.
Did you send it out to anyone or just
I sent
publish
it out
it?
to everybody that's on our
The MRC
professional
roster.
roster.
Okay.
The professional roster.
And everyone that did it last time, right?
Correct.
So they're familiar with our process.
Yep. It's a very similar team. It's almost the same people working on it.
Make a motion to allow you to negotiate the rates. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, now the public comment discussion.
So I just wanted to bring back up why I wanted it on the agenda again was just when we were going through our policy manual review and trying to come up with the city council and mayor handbook. We did have quite a bit of discussion about this, and I personally like the idea of having the first public comment section be for agenda items only, so that we can get through our agenda, get through our business meeting, and then have the last public comment session be for public comments, but keep it to the 3 minutes. And again, we keep the timer up on the screen, and it is just going to be have to be a managed meeting to be able to, keep them to the 3 minutes and say, then you're done. And I know that that's not an easy thing to do. I think it's easier when we're in person rather than, trying to do it online. And if it comes to the online, I mean, you just keep muting them, and I mean, if they don't stop, you can kick them out of the meeting if they're being unruly. I mean, that's part of the rules. But I have to say that I have never been on a committee or a council that does not take public comment or have that as part of the business meeting. And I don't think they're written as enough. So we don't get enough emails. I mean, I've put out there numerous times that if anyone wants to contact me, I get back to you, you know, but you don't get that feedback the same way. And so I do believe that there is part of this interactive process that has to happen. And so that's just my position, is that we don't have two, but we have one that's on agenda items, so that if someone does have a comment that is on an agenda item we're gonna vote on, I wanna hear what their comment is before I vote, personally. Because if they have some great idea or something horrible that's about this before I vote, I wanna hear about it before I vote. But then at the end, it gives people, and I've heard other places that will say, okay, we've got a half hour set aside for public comment. That's all we're gonna take. We're gonna take the first people that signed up, and once we get to 30 minutes, which could be 10, could be 20 people, or they're only doing 1 minute. So I mean, I could see us limiting it if we get to that point and want to say we have a half hour set aside for public comment and that's it. But I do want to see us at least have some type of a public comment portion for people. So
Thank
that's
you.
what I have to say.
Well, and then I would like to talk about responses. I have tried over the years, and I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but when people ask questions, I don't feel you're getting your responses. I don't think you're getting answers to your questions. And I know that if you send an email, because I don't see all the emails, you may send it directly to the mayor or something. The mayor may answer your question, and that's fine. At least you've got an answer. But I'd like something in there that gives people an idea of, you know, and even if it's a no answer, even if it says, you know, we don't have enough information on that, or we're still studying that, that's an answer. So I would like to address that, and that has been a frustration for me as well, that somebody will ask something in a meeting and then, you know, there's been things over the years that I have brought up multiple times because I heard there's something you brought up that I brought up just during the meeting to try and keep it fresh. But of course, there's too many things for me to keep track of like that. So I think that there must be a way that we can say, okay, within, you know, maybe, I don't know, 2 meetings from now, or it depends on how the meetings are falling. Sometimes we don't have 2 meetings in a month. But I would like something that just kind of addresses, we may email you because the answer is long, or send you materials, or we may answer it in the city council meeting if it's something that affects lots of people. If it's something that only affects you, we might just email you personally. But I really do feel very strongly that people are not getting answered. And I think I haven't liked the tenor of the meetings where everybody gets mad and keeps repeating the same things over and over again. But part of that, I think, is due to the fact they're not getting any answers.
No, Chris, I hate this is gonna sound really stupid, but some of us don't like to email. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know how to do it until I went my daughter showed me, and I'm still having problems with it, so some people.
Write it on a piece of paper and drop it by city.
But then you gotta get in your car.
This is our time to
drive,
talk.
when you're in a meeting,
This is our time to talk. It's
Yeah,
not a
hey,
discussion.
okay.
I do
Hey,
what
hey,
I
Bob,
have to eat.
Bob, let's continue.
So anyway, that I would like to see something in there that addresses the mechanism, a process that we're going to use to get people answers.
I'm kind of wondering maybe if on the new website, we couldn't almost have like a public comment tracking sheet.
Yes.
You know, where they could just go, we type in the question that's there, and then the answer goes there too. Because then it would be available.
And then everybody could see it.
Yeah.
'Cause the
But
alternative
it
is-
is tracking, because I agree, it's like, I mean, I have this, you know, I keep like my little.
Yeah,
list
I
that
know
need-
too.
You know, and I try to star next to things, but it's true, I mean, the answers aren't coming back, and then, like you said, they may go to the person, but then us as a council, we're not hearing what the answer is either. And so it would be good for everyone to be able to have that information, and that could cut down on those public comment questions and things like
Yeah.
that too, because you can go look at those, oh, actually, you know, 2 months ago, that question was asked, and here's, you know, the answer, and you don't have to come up with that idea over and over again.
Well, and I think part of our problem was we were relying on minutes. And,
Yes.
but you're trying to take questions out of hour and a half of comments, and it's just too much.
Yeah.
You can't decipher what's what, and
Like,
then
we need to
we keep
separate.
missing. So then they come back and they're complaining, well, I still haven't got my answer. It's like, we don't even know where the question is.
Mhm.
Like, that's why, to me, at least that portion of it needs to be written down, whether it's on the website or they email it in or however, I
Yeah,
don't
some
care.
type of track.
It can be in any way, but if they have a question, it has to be written down so we can see it and so we can effectively respond to it.
So we can track it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when everybody's talking, it's hard to keep track of all the questions.
So I'm not for or against whether we take the public
Like-
comments or anywhere like that. It just, I think the questions need to be written down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have a few thoughts on this. I'd like to take a step back and kind of like remind everyone why we're having this discussion to begin with. So two things. For one, the public comment has become a huge distraction. It's become unruly. Community members have kind of turned it into a time to, get on their soapbox, but also attack one another. And that kind of leads me to my second point, that the purpose of these meetings is for the city council to conduct official business. I mean, we get together, twice a month, sometimes less, for an hour or two in the evening, and this is our time to pass ordinances, discuss like city legislation and things of that sort. So I agree that the public needs to be heard on all issues, especially issues that we're going to be discussing and potentially voting on that evening. So, I think hands down, there needs to be a public comment at the very least for agenda items. The general public comment, though, because it's become such a distraction, I do think something needs to be done. I'm open to ideas. I like the idea of an open public comment at the end for people to speak. I like the idea of written comments beforehand, or like a forum or a thread that we can track. But like you said earlier, Chris, the whole hour-long just circle of people arguing, that's not why we're here. These meetings are for us to conduct business, not for the community to hijack. So
What if they wrote down, you come in and you have a question, if you brought in a piece of paper and say, this is my question, and handed it to us, would that help?
It would help, but I think the expectation that they would need to know is we can't always answer it right off the bat.
Right,
We have
right,
to do
no,
the
they would give
research.
it to us so that
Yeah.
later we could get back to them.
Yeah.
Put your name and your question on there. Because I really do want to see people get their answers. I'm just trying to figure out how to keep track of it.
I do like the idea of brief comments being added to the agenda for the next meeting. I think that's something we could easily do and
Yeah.
document during the public comment session.
Answer
If
questions.
someone has a question or an idea, like with the aquifer study or something of the sort, it's like, you can bring that up at a meeting, but like we don't have the capacity to give like a thoughtful, educated response on the fly. But if you bring it up and we document it and put it on the agenda for the next meeting, that gives us 2 weeks to do our homework and come up with an educated response.
Mr. Ross, you said something about you're here to do once or twice a month to do official business for the city.
Yep.
Isn't the people's comment part of your official business for doing this?
Technically, no.
Yeah, legally, no.
Why
Technically,
would it
no.
be?
Because that's not what the law says.
Pardon?
That's not what the law says. The public comment is not part of council meetings. That's where
Okay, so
usually you would
maybe
have a
should just
different
say We're
platform.
done with it completely, no more comments, and let it rise that. You guys have your special meetings every 2 months with nobody talking.
No, because
Because you were elected, you people were elected by the people.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
We got that.
so the
That's
precedent
pretty
has been set that we allow for public comment and we value the people's voice. We want to hear what people have to say, but there needs to be a balance between that and us actually being able to conduct the business that we're here to conduct.
You need to look at the history of the city of McCleary and public comment and public meetings. Or have a private time when you guys can't do
That's illegal.
your business.
We can't do that. That's illegal.
You have a public meeting, but you don't want the public to talk.
Well, I'm just saying we
That's not what we're
can't.
saying. We don't want the public to be a distraction.
Yeah, I mean,
You've allowed
there's-
the public to be the distraction.
Yeah.
You have allowed it, more so since the Zoom has been on, because nobody mandated them to open the Zoom and just shut people off. But you guys are the one that has allowed the public comments to be a distraction. I'm tired of when I come here and I talk about public comment and I get 3 or 4 people over here chiming in on what I'm talking about. That shouldn't be allowed. I'm just wanting to say what I have to say in hopes that you write it down and that maybe in a week or 2, you will give me an answer, either email or via the next meeting or 2. You're wanting us to do all this work. No, that's not how it works. You guys need to start writing.
See, I disagree with
down and be accountable.
I disagree with that. And why I'm saying that is if you want us to answer your question correctly, then you need to write the question down. So we actually have what your thoughts are. Otherwise, we're translating into something else and what we think we hear. And then we're not always answering the question that you want.
Right, I agree with that, but I'm just saying, the public comments overshadowing your business of what, one agenda tonight? Because everybody chimes in on everybody else's, let that one person talk, don't let the other 3 or 4 people chime in. They have no right, they're not part of what I raised my hand for, wrote it down on a piece of paper. They're taking up time that they shouldn't be allowed to pick up.
You're also using tonight as one example. Tonight's a light night, but look at how many other meetings we've had in the past where we have packed agendas. And there's a lot of stuff to go, contracts and ordinance, whatever, just a bunch of stuff, right? And just the business alone takes an hour and a half. And then you add another whatever amount of time for public comments. That me personally, I don't know. You know, military 25 years between the Marines and Army, right? All my deployments, I'm freedom of speech. I love it. But then I started thinking after we kind of tailored this back and started looking at it, it's like, we're not cutting off your voice. It's just everybody who's angry, they take a step back, they write it down. Well, they're not going to write angry, right? You're going to kind of think about it, be a little more eloquent in your writing, most likely. And then you're going to submit those comments and we can read and we can kind of get your thoughts. It's more collected. Everybody's a little bit calmer. It saves us time. Everybody's still going to read the same thing you would have said, probably a little bit calmer.
Right, but we're not wasting it. Zoom, we couldn't see you on Zoom.
Yeah.
It sucked. Is what I'm trying to.
Well, I
get at.
can't help what the proclamations are. Talk to Inslee, Jesus. I mean, I battle the governor every day. I can't do it here too, so.
And Gary, you're right, it can get out of control, and that's what we're trying to fix now. So we kind of, that's why we're discussing it, that we're trying to get it
This is
back.
not
so
public
that nobody
conversation right
interrupts
now.
you when you're doing
I know,
it.
but we're trying to be a
But you
little
have to stop
interactive.
after your
Yeah.
3
At least
minutes.
testing it out.
Not you personally.
This is
but
what I
whoever's
would like to get
speaking
to,
needs
is a little bit
stop
calmer.
every 3
Yeah.
minutes, and then not add more and more and more comments, interrupting the rest of the business of the
But
meeting.
if you listen to the Zoom conversations, people were chiming in on the person's.
Yeah, but
conversation,
we're beyond the Zoom,
but
so.
they should be muting it.
Well,
Okay, keep in mind, it's hard to mute and find people. And there's 95 people in there. So let's, it just takes time to work through that stuff, You had somebody?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
All right, who?
Leave it in.
Yep.
All right.
Yep,
go
I
ahead.
want to interject real quick here because it's quite upsetting to hear some of these council members speak of the disruption in the council meetings when some of those council members are the ones who supported some of this nonsense that we've been seeing, Buford, things like that calling in. So I think it's a shame that the rest of us that are bringing up legitimate issues are being silenced because of folks like Buford or people in Zoom when the meetings were hot and they were calling in or signing in as Don Gala Loita, knowing that they were doing it just to cause crap. So why those people aren't disconnected when that stuff comes up? And it seems that those on that side are supporting that disruption. But when people want to bring legitimate things, they want to silence us. And so I find it quite upsetting that because of Buford and people like that, the ones who want to sign in under false names are now we're paying the price for that. Because I think it's a shame that we are being silenced like that because of others' misbehavior. So thank you.
Susanna?
I would like to point out 2 different things. One, we are all talking outside of public comment.
Mhm.
And 2, that we should have a clear, stated and enforced expectation at the beginning of every meeting to conduct business properly.
Well, and that's what we're trying to
I know.
figure out.
And I do agree with that I have asked for this, and I know that Chris and I have talked and it just got missed this time, but actually printing it on the agenda, what the rules are, what the guidelines
It's on the
are.
website one.
Yes, it's on, so like I said, I know that we have chatted about this just because of my experience with the county. We write it on every agenda, it's limited to 3 minutes, you must state this one's only for this, and this is only for that. To again, lay out those, and then there's that expectation though, that we have to follow through with it.
Yeah.
That we have that expectation written, And then.
Now, I'll say unless somebody objects, the first public comment period about agenda items is staying. I don't see why any of us is going to disagree with that.
No,
So the
yeah.
argument is the second one and how we're going to tackle that. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the same page on that, so.
Yeah, and then moving forward, it will have that language
Yeah.
and that'll be on every agenda so that it's clear to everyone.
And I had requested that exact same thing.
Yeah. Do you have something else?
I did, I heard the people talking and I felt that I might offer this as a possible solution. For those people who do not like to write their comments and do not like email, perhaps setting up a voicemail box where people could leave voicemail messages that could be downloaded and appended as an option. A lot of these things are possible with technology and depending on what the backend configuration is, it might not be that complicated. But then that gets across people's passionate feelings and full, whatever, but you might just say in the recorded message that this message is made a part of public comment in its entirety.
So then we just have to transcribe it.
Or just download and append as an audio file.
How do we? Okay.
She has the technology.
Well, no, I'm trying to conceptualize how you attach it to the agenda. I think that's where I'm stuck at. Yeah, that's where
I
I'm
like
stuck.
the idea just because of public records. I think it's adding a whole extra layer for public records that is gonna be a nightmare. So I just personally that I like the sentiment, but public records, I would not want to go down that route of having to. Yeah, storage. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just curious how you guys feel about it. Not to put you on the spot, but.
No, you're
No,
fine.
I like the idea of, even if they just handwrite their public comment, come to the meeting, read it and leave it with us, then we have their thoughts in writing. There's no misunderstanding, and then we can research and get back.
Like Terry did. Terry
Correct.
brought everything
Yeah,
in
I like
writing,
that.
gave it to us, and so we can look at that and
Right.
make decisions.
And I know it's been stated, but the idea of restructuring public comment wasn't to tell this town, we don't care what you think. That wasn't the idea.
Not at all.
The idea was to get some control back on it. You go to other council meetings, it was a lot more calmer, a lot more professional. But we want to hear what the public's saying. Mr. Pringle's correct, so is Mr. Atkins, that they elected us. We need to listen to what the whole town wants, not just do what's solely in our best interest. However, what we were trying to stop is the side bickering going on between community members. That's what was getting out of control. We weren't able to do our business. And then bring some professionalism back. It's not to silence anybody.
Same, that was my whole proposal, that was the whole intent.
Yeah.
To begin with, was the childish back and forth was.
Hmm.
It doesn't serve a purpose.
And it's harder to manage on Zoom. It really
It
is.
is.
Right.
It is.
I mean, and more people showed up on Zoom than in person. It just is what it is, but
Well, it's the way our society is, right? You get behind a keyboard, you get behind
Yeah.
a camera.
it's like everybody want to complain on Facebook, but then they don't actually ask me anything. I'm like, all right, I'm done then. Yeah, what you got? All
John online has a comment.
right, John?
Hello, how are we doing this evening?
Good.
I just guess I want to comment. I think you guys are doing a good job. I agree there's way too much bickering. And I think that you guys should conduct this officially. And I don't know, it just seems like there's just way too much childishness. And we need to get back to some more professionalism.
But that was 2 months ago. It hasn't been that way.
Well,
last few
it was because we shut everything down.
Yeah.
That's, I said, that's why.
Yeah, it's like this in Washington DC right now.
Yeah. And so, and that's the thing, there wasn't gonna be a permanent ban, it's just, we needed a reset. But we're still trying to figure out what that looks like, because maybe we do want to modify parts of it, and that's what we're trying to figure out tonight, Is it just a temporary hold, or are we gonna change something more permanently? Because if we do change something permanently, then we have to make a resolution, make that change. So there's a lot of things to figure out, and that's what we're trying to
I'd
sort
like
out
to
tonight.
think of 3 minutes, if you're not done, you're done.
I agree.
You have a rule.
Well,
Ten
okay,
commandments,
so
that's what you gotta do.
But we tried to do
The,
that.
the part, I think the challenge I have with public comment, if people came in and they want to complain something city related, I don't know, with a loose dog or whatever, you know, that's understandable. It's something viable. Some of the comments was more, they want to complain about somebody else in the audience or, you know, that kind of crap. It doesn't get us anywhere. And it's really, that's not even city business. That's Facebook business.
Maybe you can give us your address and on Halloween we can buy and wax your windows or something.
Yes.
If you wash it, then
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that's part of the writing on the second one. That says it needs to be says city business related, or we're gonna stop your comment. And it's, you know, unfortunately, it's gonna land on you to kind of manage that, but maybe that's what it says. It needs to be city business related, not personal, you know, attacks on people. And it's different if they're gonna talk about us. It just is. When you're a public servant, people are gonna talk about you. It's just the way it is. You know, we don't have to like it, but they're gonna have comments. But I agree with the back and forth to each other and other citizens and things like that. That's not part of city business. It's not anything that we could fix. But if it's something, you know, like I want to find out about my alleyway, hey, there's a pothole on this road, or hey, you know, the park could really use this upgrade or something. I mean, those are all city business type items, you know, to talk about. So I think it's easier when someone starts, and I get that it's gonna take some time to figure out, like, we just gotta stop and say, no, you know, unless you have a city business comment, you know, we have to move to the next person.
And
And it's not supposed to be a dialogue.
it's
I mean,
not.
we're having a conversation right now, but it's
But
not
they talk,
supposed to
we
be,
listen.
Jenna, why did you do da da da? It's not a dialogue back and forth time. It's a tell us your concerns. And then if we can figure out some way to do it, then we get the answers back to you about your concerns, your questions. And again, the answer may be no, can't do that, but that's still an answer.
Yeah.
You know, even if we don't know the answer, that's an answer. But
Maybe we need to create a whole nother sheet, a different sheet, that if they have questions that they're submitting, kind of, you know, they submit in writing, and we have to get back to them, whether they want email or mailed to them, or if we call them, but whatever that contact information that they want or prefer. And so when we do get the answer, we can ensure that it gets to them in that format. So we might need to create a whole nother sheet just for that alone.
But I think you should append it to Jenna's idea of having a tracking mechanism so that people who are interested in so-and-so's answer can be like, oh, that was. the
Yeah,
answer.
but just sometimes people don't go on the website, for example,
Yeah,
right? So
well,
we need to make sure at least that
that's-
person gets it more directly, and then it can be offered to the public.
We don't want to overcomplicate
We
it.
don't have it yet.
We don't want to have like 5 avenues of public comment. I think we need a simple,
just
like, common sense solution.
I agree, Max.
I mean, we can kind of come up with individual proposals and get them to you, and
Okay.
I just don't like that idea because I think it's just gonna drag on forever.
yeah,
We've already had 3 meetings to talk this through, and
we
so.
can come to an agreement
individual-
tonight.
Yeah, you know, because I just feel like otherwise it's just
So-
gonna drag on forever.
All right, so what about an agenda comment in the beginning and a city business comment in the end, and then an expectation that questions are put in writing? Like, because, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I'm fine with something like that, you know, because I think it gives them multiple
Mhm.
options. And I think that even, you know, if one of us, you know, was just taking notes on some of the questions too, we could email them at the end of the night to Chris and say, hey, this is what I took down for notes, because being that I've been a clerk before, you're sitting there frantically trying to take notes and do other things during the meeting. And so even if just one of us takes that on as our duty during a meeting to just scratch down one piece of paper, and then when we get home at night, type them all up real fast and say, hey, here's the questions that I heard from the meeting.
And then I think the other thing we need to add to that is how we're gonna get answers back. You know,
that's
are we
what-
gonna answer it in the next meeting, like, put it as part of the agenda, and just answer those questions?
Yeah, because we could create in the agenda, right, like
Yeah.
another page
That's just.
that has the
answers.
questions and the answers.
Mhm.
And then, and if we need to, we can verbalize them, you know,
Right.
if there needs to be explanation beyond
But
the answer.
then we don't wanna generate conversations around all the answers, because then the meeting suddenly becomes ours.
No,
That's snowball, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah.
That and snowball, so.
but we are opening up to where then during public comment,
Mhm.
you know, maybe they're gonna re-question more. I was like, well, we need more information on that. So I mean, yeah, there's,
And it could become an agenda item if it's a big thing such as the aquifer, you know, that could be an agenda item if people want if somebody wants to speak on it. So, if somebody, like, we have special guest speakers, and
Mhm.
sometimes people do come into this meeting and Civic Renewal Council,
Yeah.
and they get put on the agenda to share information. So, if it's something large,
Joy, are you saying then just to have the questions answered in the meeting and not reaching back out?
no, I'm
Okay.
not.
So I was
That was
just
one of the
thinking-
things Chris mentioned.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that, no, I'm not saying that would be the only way.
Okay, I was
I'm
just
just
thinking
saying-
if someone came, asked a question and they weren't at the next meeting or something, they would
Right.
miss it.
You're right. No, I'm saying though that we have to have a mechanism to get
Right.
answers back to people as, I guess.
And that's why I think at the very least, if they're attached to the agenda, then everybody can access them. I mean, at the very least,
Right.
you know.
Because if they're on the agenda,
Yeah.
they're published.
I'd still prefer that we get their contact, like if they ask a specific question, we get their contact information, we sure we get it directly to that person, just in case. Some people are
Right.
not as technology savvy, they might not be able to find it on the website,
Right.
just to ensure that we know we got them that answer. But
Right.
then other people might have the same concern. If we had it in the agenda, they can read it, they see the answer, might spark more questions, I don't know, but at least that kind of helps out, so.
Yeah, and like you were saying, we can create a form, and some people just want a phone call, like, hey, blah, 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 you can call them up and be like, okay, that's all they want, they don't want to revisit it, so that might be something to put on the form too. Would you like it to revisit at next council meeting or just a phone call or whatever? So-
That would be a really easy thing to do on the public comment sign-in sheet, have an extra column that says like, would you like a response? And they can check the box and
Yeah.
put a mechanism, an email or a phone number to get a
Yeah, how,
response.
yeah,
For
exactly.
address. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can give them a response.
You do know all of this is gonna probably be hitting you at some point.
Yeah, nobody identified themselves and stuff. I know who this is.
It's all right, I know everybody.
Yeah. We know them.
I have a question, Chris. I know in Aberdeen, I'm just curious, I don't know if anybody's ever done this here. I know we're recording audio. Has anybody ever come in and asked if they can videotape what's going on in one of these meetings?
I don't know if
I wonder
anybody's,
what the city council felt like, because I know they do that in Aberdeen.
It's legal.
It's
Yeah.
legal,
Yeah.
it is.
there we can't
because this is
stop
a
it.
public, yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought, since it's public, okay.
Yeah.
So I was
Now,
curious about that.
the mayor's, we met a couple weeks ago, we were talking about homeless and the EMS training issues. And we were at Montesano's, and Vinny, the mayor there, brought up the fact that they have their setup. I don't think they use Zoom, they use something else, but maybe Zoom, but they have it where it's broadcast, right? Now, you can't get on and participate, but you can watch.
Right.
And so it is video recorded and you can see everybody and what's going on here and stuff like that. She's suggesting that we go that route too, but
No,
you know,
I'm
I have
just
to kind of
saying,
look at it a
somebody
little bit
don't
more.
Want to record something or videotape, or just sit on her lap and just.
You can,
record it,
yes.
So you can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was curious about, thank you.
Any other discussion on this topic?
So what's the next
Yeah,
step?
yeah, so what are we doing?
All right, so we got to restructure, add some notes onto the next agenda. So the first one, it's already on there, so the next one will say it. On the second one, we'll put the public comment back in if everybody is on board with that. But I'll put in parentheses that's about city business. I might even go as far as adding that we prefer you write your comments and submit them. I mean, even if you read them, give them to us. It's like I said, I'm a visual person, so I'm trying to listen, but sometimes when people really go off on some tangents, like I get a little lost and I can't remember it all. So I just prefer to
What
have
was
it.
the question?
Yeah, I mean,
This is maybe a goofy thing, but you said something about writing them down on a piece of paper and then bringing them to you guys. I know sometimes you guys like go in the back and discuss certain things, maybe if you get together ahead of time for the next meeting and discuss among yourself, or is that still?
No,
That's
can't.
illegal.
That's illegal still,
It's
okay.
only executive sessions that we
Okay.
can do that. Those are very specific topics.
yeah, and you can only do executive session on certain things.
Specific.
Yeah, so I'm on board with that, just
Yeah.
adding those notes on there and at least giving it a try, and
Okay.
I think it is just gonna fall in your hands to, just kind of have to manage that.
Well, I
and
didn't have
pause
this
to
on
make
Zoom,
sure
so
that-
maybe this
that
will
people
help me.
are muted when they need to be, so.
Yeah.
And I think adding do you want a response to the sign-in sheet? Is
Yeah.
an easy thing to do that we can look at afterwards.
Okay.
Can I add
Yes,
one
ma'am.
thing to you?
No.
I always felt that this was rude but I've had it happen more than once. When Gary Dent was the mayor here, he used to have a timer for 3 minutes, right by his thing. And when it was your 3 minutes was off, the timer would go up and he'd tell you, that's it. You're done. Next.
Whack again.
And I mean,
Yeah, you got one.
that they learn to write, you learn to write the stuff down. You might only get halfway through your letter or your stuff and then you can hand it over.
Exactly. And then you can submit it and we can see the rest of it.
Right, I try to get, when I do my stuff, I try to get it under 3 minutes and I read it like 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
to make sure before I come to your meetings. Because I've been trained that way from going to county meetings, going to state meetings, going to city meetings. So, I mean, it's not unheard of for you guys to, you know, cut us off.
I think the
And then
other,
there's meetings sometimes that when there's nobody there, that they'll let you go on because they want to hear what the rest of what you had to say.
yeah, I think the challenge I had over the last couple months is they were freely willing to write tons of crap on Facebook,
Oh, I saw that.
but
I
would
tried to
not
stand up.
submit anything in writing to us that we could add to the agenda or discuss here.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm like, well, if you can write it there, you can write it here. You can submit the same stuff,
That's kinda how I got.
you
I
know?
think Bob does it.
Okay,
All good. You-
All right.
All
are we
right.
good with that?
Sounds
Move
good.
on?
Good solution. What's
Okay.
next?
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's getting dark and I won't be able to see the phone.
All right.
I have a blind eye.
Thanks for coming, Terry.
I do then. I don't want to be on the road.
Okay, bye, guys.
All right, so last is the 870 ordinance of salary commission. So I tried to implement what Ms. Ross was talking about the last meeting. I really struggled with trying to figure out how to word it, so I just kind of threw something down, so at least we had a discussion point, because I couldn't find an example. I just needed to get something on paper to try to transcribe what you're relating to, and I don't know if I even came close.
This is close.
Okay.
I think our unanimous concern was like, we were just like worried about the commission doing some sort of like extreme action.
Yeah.
And
When I talked to other mayors, I believe, I didn't get a chance to talk to every single one of them. I know Westport wasn't there, but I think you all are the lowest paid in the entire county.
hey,
And so that's where I was just like, because you, like, when you mentioned 10%, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so you could go from 100 to 110, really, what's the point?
yeah,
Might as well not do anything.
it's-
That's just my opinion. I would just seem like it would come a waste of time.
I agree. I
So I
agree.
guess where I was
I
just like, all
agree.
right, let's throw
Yeah.
50 and just see where that goes. But
Sure.
it's not, if you chose to move this route, it's not like you couldn't modify that again later.
Mm.
What I was trying to figure out, and her and I've had this discussion for a year and a half, trying to figure out that nobody feels comfortable voting for your own raise, and I can respect that. And that's where it's like, okay, well, then what do you do? I would personally do this for free just because I want to do this. That's just me. I don't care. Am I gonna take the money? Of course I am. That's, if it's coming to me, but
This is America.
you know, it's trying to find the balance. And to me, I think the best solution is you have a third-party entity that can look at this and be objective. But then that also means you cannot be able to dictate one way or the
Yeah,
other.
just go
You
with it.
need to just respect whatever they say, whether up, down, stay the same, whatever, and you just have to accept that. That's the gamble you take when you accept this route. I'm indifferent on whether you want to approve this or not. I was just trying to come up with a solution
Yeah.
that maybe will work and we can keep playing with this. It's fine by me. I mean,
I was telling Joy the other day, in the 5 years that we've been on council, we've discussed the salaries like one time,
Once.
and it was just the mayor's salary that was raised.
Actually, we talked about, remember, we talked about on the council.
Right, we opted not to.
And the
For
reason we
council.
opted not to is because I took all the cities that were comparable to our size, and I added up what all the council members made and divided it by that number. And it turned out to get the average, it was only like a $4 or $5 raise to the council members.
Mhm.
And so that was why we didn't do it.
yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not for or against. I was just trying to come up with a solution that can alleviate whether it's a problem now or a problem in the future. And
Well,
it could be something if you're like, okay, yeah, we want this, but maybe we don't want to start until next year, like whatever y'all want to do. I was just trying to find something.
Interrupted you.
Oh, that's okay. What I was gonna say though, when I was looking at the RCW, I think it was paragraph 6 or whatever it was in there, it spoke to it going to a vote of the people. Should there be a raise or a decrease with the salary of the mayor and council? I didn't see that in here.
Because the examples I saw, I got this from one of the cities, and I
Uh-huh.
found 4 cities that had this, and none of them had that in there.
Okay. So I mean,
And that's why when I sent it to Chris Coker to look at, and we were on par. With everything.
okay,
I don't know why, like, I did notice that, but no other city had that
Had that.
implemented. But I think because of the other language, I don't know, I say work around it, but it just explains it in a different pattern,
okay.
the way the process is.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're making this board the people.
They're representing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I give it some thought.
that's why you can't be able to reject or try to change anything they do. That's what makes them that independent entity. That makes them the people.
Yeah,
I give it some thought, and to add on to that, limiting what they can do is, also limiting, like putting a limit on how much they can give us a raise is like limiting their action. And
I
it
mean,
is,
honestly, if you want to put 10%.
it is a
do whatever
pretty
you want, I don't care.
insignificant amount of money that we make. We could just appoint responsible people and just go
Exactly.
with it.
Because we're going to vote on the people appointed. I mean. if we,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes, you're gonna vote on the people appointed, and you're going to approve the budget,
Right,
which includes in the budget.
exactly.
Yeah, so if it's something real outrageous, we could just not approve the budget
And then
or down the line.
potentially you could, I don't know, maybe we make a provision where you could throw it back at them to
Mhm.
review, to ask them to review. I don't know, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to throw out ideas.
I thought that Chris Coker said last time that it wasn't subject to budget approval and that it was strictly independent from that.
Did he say that?
Yeah, yeah, because we
Okay,
literally
I
have no
forgot that.
choice. Like,
Yeah,
they make it or they don't.
Okay.
So what if we wrote in like a unanimous veto, like if it was something outrageous? And I'm not, down the line or something like that. If it,
I think you could cancel the salary commission if you wanted to.
yeah,
Yeah,
You'd get rid of
Yeah.
you could, and so it would be like a 1-year thing, and then you would say cancel, new ordinance to rescind the
and I've
salary
seen,
commission.
and I've seen cities have done that.
So
some
I
of
mean,
them
there's
do it
always options
temporarily.
to get away with it, but, I think that's ultimately,
Would a salary commission have guidelines, would they follow, or do they just?
yeah. So that's what I was gonna say, is then you give them these guidelines, and then you also, they're supposed to be working with the city treasurer.
Mhm.
And the treasurer is going to say, this is what we're looking like for our revenues and our expenditures. What I would hope is like what we do with our salary review is, like you said, you take other cities, you give them this information so that they have it to look at. They're not just gonna say, I think this sounds like a good number. I mean, they should have like a set
Yes.
guidelines of what they're going to follow. I mean, that's what any good commission, and they are going to be, responsible to the people as well, because they're, if they want to be on this committee, their decision, it's public. In here it says they're public meetings, they take citizen input. And so, I don't think that they're gonna be skating by without, citizens saying, what are you doing? Or, if they pre-publish, hey, this is what we're looking at, they have a public meeting, and people are gonna give them feedback. I mean, I have no doubt about that.
Has this been an issue in any other town? I couldn't find anything where some salary commission suddenly gave huge
No.
raises.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
usually very, how
Yeah.
many citizens do you know that wanna give people a bunch of big raises? It's their tax dollars we're
Exactly.
Yeah.
spending, so that's not what they're out there looking
Yeah.
for.
Usually the issue is the council that does it, and that's where the issues are.
And that's why I wanted to get it out of our hands,
Mhm.
because I don't want to make that decision, but I guess anything can happen, let's
Yeah.
put it that way,
Yeah.
but I doubt seriously, anybody in McCleary on the salary commission is gonna go, let's just triple what they're making. I
Yeah.
just don't see that happening.
I agree, but it's just, I like there to be checks on everything.
Yeah, and they can not approve anything, they can decrease, I mean, anything can happen,
Yeah.
that's the thing, but I agree that if you put a cap on how much they can increase, at least then with reason, it doesn't mean they're gonna max that either,
Question if you can. I don't know, but what is this, what do you get a month?
Oh, we get a whole $100 a
That's what I was
month
wondering.
minus taxes. Pays for your
Doesn't mean like
gas.
92.
Yeah, that.
When do we get that?
I've been
Every
wondering,
month?
how many hours you guys
Anything?
roughly put
You haven't
in, and
filled out
have
the
you
forms yet.
calculated your hourly and
You
how
back pay?
minuscule it
Yeah.
is?
You mean like
It's all
millions
going to the
of
food
things
bank
this
anyways.
big to
Yeah.
read?
Get with her, you might not fill out the
Exactly.
paperwork.
Oh,
Those
And
people
I would
that
say,
do
yeah, it depends
the-
on,
like your
someone
bank
has
forms
asked me
and
that
stuff like that.
recently. And I think with the different other side committees that we're on, for it, like finance or policies, like I will say,
policies take a lot of time because of these ones, like I haven't even gotten to the parks one yet because it's what, 60 some pages. I mean, to get the time to actually read it and make thoughtful notes and corrections, and like I just sent out a public records one that I worked on and stuff. I mean, you know, I'll work for a good solid 4 hours on some of those, you know, on the weekends trying to get those done. And so, I mean, it's by no means are we just putting in the 2 hours to, you know.
Yeah,
come
just
here
the time
and-
you see us.
You know, because it is also research.
Yes.
No, we're not doing this to make money. For sure, you
I
know,
mean, I really
so.
like my $92, but you know.
Yeah. So it's, and that's exactly, we're not doing this, we didn't sign up because of the money, it's to do the service. But by far you guys are getting a good deal because we are putting in a lot more hours than just the 4.
I got a whole lot more on the hospital board and I turned that down to do this.
I have a quick question. I don't know if this is time or place, but I overheard you guys talking about that, yes. Is there a discount for people that have heat pumps? And the reason I'm asking is because my mom is a single woman by herself and her bill has been averaging $440 a month. And that's like a third of her income. And
So Douglas heat
we
pumps?
did, yes, put a heat pump in that house and we have them also, but I've never requested.
Yes, so
There's a rebate.
Josh Cooper has all the PIMS Douglas, well, the energy conservation rebates, which Douglas heat pumps fall under. They have to be a specific energy conservation measure. They have a list of them and he gives you the list and help you through the whole process.
Who do I ask?
Josh Cooper.
Is that down at the city?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he's building department.
Building department.
So I guess, are we ready to do this tonight? Do you guys want another week? Guess that's kind of.
Well, I guess it comes
Let's get it
down,
done with.
do we want age?
Yeah, that's the only thing that changed from the last one. That's why I highlighted it.
And did Chris Coker ever look at that? Did you say?
I don't think so, no. I told him about it, but I didn't
Okay,
actually send this to him.
I mean, I know it was my idea 2 weeks ago, but I'm okay scratching it just after having a couple weeks to think
Yeah.
about it.
I'm
okay scratching it.
Okay, so we'll go back to the original one.
I know there's a lot of work you had to do to add that in.
I know, God.
I had to type that whole sentence and make it yellow.
The hard part wasn't writing it, it was trying to think about what to write. That's what was
Yeah.
killing me. I don't know why. It seems like a simple sentence,
I know.
so, all right.
So I'm still on the fence, or not on the fence, but I'm still in disagreement of increases taking effect in the same budget year. I think they should take effect the next budget year and be budgeted in.
I actually agree. That was the one thing I know that we talked about was, yes, putting it into effect the next budget
January.
cycle,
Yeah.
January. right of the next
That's,
year.
is it not written right? Because that's what it's supposed to be. Like, so
Yeah, it was written
the
weird.
council would, or the commission would meet, I think it was like at least once. So they say July, right? And then by August, they come up with a proposal that gives us the number when we're working in the fall for the budget. And then it takes effect that January.
So look at.
So it's not in the current one you're in, it's the next budget
Yeah,
cycle.
look at E.
E,
Yeah.
that's how it was supposed to be worded.
Yeah, so I think it just says, shall be effective
It just doesn't
January
say
1
when. Yeah, just add it.
of the
Okay.
next year.
Okay.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Of the next.
And incorporate it in the city budget without further action. That's all it means, is just to add that in there. So no, thanks for, because I know that you brought that up last time and I agree, I wouldn't want it
Okay.
mid-budget cycle.
Mhm.
All right. That makes more sense.
All right.
All right,
So I make a motion to adopt ordinance 870 with the
With
amended change to E, adding in January 1
I'll second
And
that.
removing H.
and removing H.
Removing H,
removing
yes.
H.
Okay.
Yes, I will amend it.
Okay, we got-
Remove H.
and we got a
And I
second,
second that.
all in favor?
Oh, we gotta do a.
Oh, roll call
call.
vote, sorry. We gotta do a roll call vote for this one, so you call them individually and track their vote. Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Huff,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Dahl,
No.
Ms. Iverson. Yes.
All right. Updates. Anybody have other updates you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Monday night I went down to the firemen's meeting. Just met with them right before they started their training exercises. They just wanted to reiterate that they do have an open door policy. Anybody there, we're all invited to come down, meet the crew. ask questions. They're happy to show us their equipment, what they do, all that stuff. So it's neat to pop in there every once in a while.
It's like a time slot.
Yeah, and Mondays at 6:30 down at the fire hall.
You do it for what, 2 hours, right, ish?
Yeah.
Is it every
Just like right
Monday?
behind City Hall where
Yeah.
where the
Yep.
bays are.
And so, yep.
That's just for city council people.
Todd, I mean, I know Bear Festival and stuff has gone before, but do very many people from the public pop in?
No.
Okay,
They're not invited though.
so,
Is there an open door policy for public or just,
I mean,
that's what,
I
that's
used-
the question you was asking, I'm sorry.
and Todd probably be able to help me out more. I mean, I've popped in before I was on council. Asking for different things when I volunteered with Bear Festival or
Well,
was
I'd like
doing
to
FFA,
see
yeah.
what Paul and I talked about a few years ago when we set up to do that open house. I want to see, now that we're kind of getting past COVID, see if we can do that again.
Yeah, we like doing open houses, we like, what's the night out?
National Night Out.
National Night Out. We don't have a problem giving to her, we give touristic kids a lot. But the public come watch some fat old guys rolling on the floor, it's not very entertaining. So, that's where we're at. Yeah, so we have an open door policy, so.
Okay. Anything else?
I showed up to there was a school board meeting Monday night. I attended that. It was really good. I met the board, met the superintendent. So they encourage public involvement as well. So, and they normally meet, I think it's the third Thursday of the month, but they changed it, so I was able to attend.
Third Thursday.
Yeah,
Where do they meet at?
the school.
Okay.
I
Did
thought
you
it was
still in the
a weird
library, right?
Monday when I saw
Yeah,
that.
they changed it.
It's not in the library anymore?
No,
Okay.
yeah, it's in the portable. So if you're looking out the front of the school, it's the portable to the right.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I just wanted to comment on the agenda that the finance piece did not make it into the packet. I'm not sure if it's sometimes there, and it's sometimes not, and so I don't know if it's supposed to be there every time. If it is, there's no expenditure list in the.
Okay, we've been going back and forth. It doesn't technically have to. I was kind of pushing it to where we were gonna start putting it out there and it's been hit and miss. I gotta work on that.
And part of that is we've been between, you know. and
A lot of
she's-
transition.
We just got her, so.
Yes.
So that's part of it.
Yay, and welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Anne Marie, our treasurer, by the way.
Yes.
Great to be here.
And a wealth of experience is helping us out. Which brings me the question, I get ahead of people on minutes. We're working on the minutes. I know Lindsay's got all the recordings. I'm hoping the next meeting will actually have some of them down. I don't know if she'll get all of them caught up, but at least I know she is working on them right now, so. Any other? Okay. And then your question with the police department. So I don't have much. I'm still kind of in the middle of a lot of stuff, but we did hire Matt Raby, who is started. We're finishing up all the paperwork, getting him on board, getting all his equipment. And we are losing Brent McCullough, who put in his 2 weeks and has not told me where he's going. So I have no idea where he's going. Squaxon. Okay, so just transitioning. And then we're still trying to finish up the background on the other one. And the police chief, we did 2 interviews. I was supposed to have a third one that kind of fell through. They pulled out. So I'm going to start doing the backgrounds on those 2 and see where they lead me. So
You still hard moving now for a new guy?
Matt Raby.
Okay.
So he was with 19 years with the state patrol.
Oh, wow.
It's my husband.
Shelley knows it.
So, yep.
Thank you.
And we're still finishing the other one. So,
Okay, so it's the same.
yeah, the backgrounds sometimes are quick and sometimes they're, like hers was, or her husband's was quick because it was all one location.
Right.
But, because the investigator has to go to that department to look at the file physically and trying to coordinate, especially when you're like going to King County or like all these other places, it takes more time. So it's,
Do we
Just-
know how long it'll be before Pat can come on board?
well, we're bringing him in this weekend to start
Oh.
palling up with Crawford because he's
Oh,
going to start
okay.
more working the weekends. I'm going to move Crawford more to days.
Okay.
And so then he can get geographic, figure what's going on. He's already been coming in. He was with Randy and Mike yesterday,
Oh,
getting,
okay.
getting familiar, because they got to set him up for the weapons qual. And
Right.
so there's some logistics stuff we're still trying to work out. So it might be a few weeks before he can actually like be by himself
Yes, yeah.
because of all that, but we're working on it. So
And he needs uniform.
yes,
We need to
that's
have-
it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and waiting for Brent's car also.
Yes. So,
And the plan is to fill out our police force with as many officers as we had
Mhm.
before.
That way it take up somebody who would be here during the day and.
so the other thing I want to bring up, and I think I mentioned it when we're still in Zoom. It was more of a comment, but I want you all to start thinking about this. So at some point, I really feel like we need to bring in or bring back a sergeant position. And that was one of the issues that we've had, regardless of why the previous chief left, doesn't matter. If left, quit, got hurt, was in the hospital for 3 months, regardless of the situation, we're still in the same boat because we had nobody who was qualified supervisor. And I think we need to have a sergeant position to where we have that redundancy. It's just something to think about. I want to try to propose that, but I'm still working on that position description form. I'm most of the way there. I'm not quite refined yet, but I'm just letting you know that at some point I want to bring that up. So I don't know if that looks with 5 officers or adding a 6th, but if you look at, we were already paying for 6 officers this entire time until Morrison left in December, because Crawford, even though he wasn't getting benefits, he was basically working 39.5 hours a week. So there's ways of making it work. I'm just haven't quite figured it all out yet.
I mean, I know we had a sergeant before.
Graham, I think was the last one, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Graham, I think he was the
yes.
last one. Yeah.
I know I'd talked to Chief when he was here about bringing back that sergeant's position. And his thought at that time was waiting until we had a 6th officer, because then we have more of an overlap. So you don't have a supervisor working by themselves. And they're not having anybody else on their shift to supervise. So that's just, I'm sure, I don't know if you consider that yet.
Well,
I would lean more
but that's what I'm
towards
saying.
that.
We were already paying 6 officers with
Right.
Crawford in reserve because we're paying them basically full-time, right?
Right.
Just no benefits. So what I'm proposing is maybe we take that when Crawford becomes full-time.
Mhm.
But then we just add that 6th position being the sergeant position.
Okay,
What I'm gonna do is I see John Healy when I go walking, and so we've been talking in pieces, but I need to set up a meeting with him and the superintendent, Shane Ramsey,
Mhm.
because now I don't know with the levy failing if there's an issue right now, but usually schools have some money to help with the resource officer,
okay,
because whether it's a sergeant or an officer, or maybe a little bit of both, and we kind of split time, I foresee that part-time, we should be up there at the school and having some kind of presence, not a full-time officer,
right,
but just some involvement, whether it's just in the morning when they're coming to school and in the afternoon when they leave. And then we have this aspect where we're trying to figure out the code enforcement, which is kind of a mess that we're behind on. So having this layer is going to help out a lot.
okay.
So,
Because people in town are concerned, obviously, I'm concerned. And so I think that I appreciate that you're moving forward that direction.
Mhm.
Thank you.
any other updates, questions? All right. Then I will entertain a motion. Wait,
We got one.
Did we skip 870?
no, that was the salary
that was
commission.
the salary,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought that, never mind. Thank you.
Oh, there was one
We
other
didn't
thing.
vote on the moratorium, though. Were we supposed to vote on that again?
No, that was just public hearing.
Okay,
So the moratorium goes for 6 months.
and we just had
And
to
we'd
hold
have
the public
to,
hearing.
yes,
now.
within 60 days. And then in July, we'll probably have to do an extension because the studies won't be back in time.
That's what.
So,
That's probably what you're thinking, is that normally we do the
Yeah.
hearing and then we vote on it again.
yeah, so it's gonna be a
Plus, we give our
process.
planning commission time to get established
Exactly.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're working on the application. So the other thing I want to think about, so after we passed the fireworks ordinance, a lot of people are asking me specifically about banning bottle rockets. That because they're a nuisance and a problem. Nothing else, just bottle rockets. And I can't disagree with them. But it just when they were bringing up towards the end of that, I didn't want to stall that and then try to figure out how to add that in. I was just like, I'll deal with that later. I just want you to think about, it. I might propose, because I just assume it's only gonna be one line or banning bottle rockets or whatever. I don't know how to word it yet. But that might be coming down the pike here in the next couple months. I'm just, as soon as I
But
can
we
figure
also
out.
have to consider how enforceable that is.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
not
I know.
enforceable.
I know.
I don't think we bother
It's,
with it.
it's a challenge. It's something to think about, but I at least want to entertain the discussion and figure out what we could do about it if we can.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I didn't want to tie up the other one based on that. I want to make it two different issues. So, all right, now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Everybody for coming.